There we are.
We are live. Hello, everybody.
Hey everyone.
Let's see who's here. Well, first, hello, Chris.
Hi, hi Robin. How are you?
Jilly was first in the room. Early bird gets the worm, Jilly. Next was Nancy. Then Chris. Red Bean Bee. I think it's her birthday, isn't it?
Yeah,
Happy
that's right.
birthday there. And then we have Sandra. Hello, Sandra.
Hey, lovely Sandra.
And then Mandy. And we're going to wait a little while, but I'm going to tell you all that we have a surprise guest joining us a little bit later today, but I won't give it away just yet. So, although I did mention it in another post, but okay. So how's everybody doing? How you doing, Chris? How was your birthday?
I'm good, and yeah, my birthday was brilliant, thank you. It was odd having your birthday during all of this pandemic stuff going on.
Yeah.
So we didn't go out for dinner or, I didn't see any of my friends really. I didn't really do anything I would have normally have done, but still can't complain. Like, I had a really good day. I was spoiled. I got my breakfast and yeah, I got my breakfast in bed and I got takeaway for dinner. So yeah, I had a really good day.
Did you have a birthday Zoom with family?
No, I didn't know.
No?
We had so we do a Zoom quiz on a Saturday night. Every Saturday. Me and my family from 8 till about 10 we do a Zoom quiz. So I suppose that was my birthday Zoom meeting, but we didn't really. It wasn't really my birthday. It was just the. It wasn't for my birthday. It was just the usual family quiz, which was good. I enjoyed.
Did you have a cake or a pizza or anything?
For my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had on the day before on Halloween on Saturday, we had cakes. We had like wee individual kind of lemon
Uh,
drizzle type cakes, and then yesterday I had a kind of um Victoria sponge with
ooh.
yeah, like kind of passion fruit through the icing. And then
Mm.
today, my friend, I watched my niece on a Monday, and her mum and dad, my best friends, they had got me like a chocolate cake. So there's been cake galore. So there has. I'm going to turn into a big cake any minute now. I've eaten that
Uh,
much cake
you didn't say weenies today. I think I put you on.
because I'm
I made
conscious
you
of it now.
self-conscious. I thought maybe it was because now she's getting so big she's no longer wee, but I guess she's still wee for a little bit longer,
She's,
right?
yeah, I reckon she's probably going to be quite petite. Our mum's, Emma's quite petite, so she is. So I would imagine Sophie will be the same.
Oh, so she'll
Um,
always be a wee niece.
Probably, yeah. She'll be, she'll be in her 40s, and I'll still be calling her my wee niece. So how are
uh,
you, Robin? What have you been up to?
I'm good. I just want to welcome Jackie and Simon in. Did I
Hey,
miss
Simon
anybody
and
else?
Jackie.
I think I got everybody else.
I've not.
I'm
So
fine.
I'll just say a collective hello to everyone. I've been kind of lurking in the chat, but I've not
Yeah.
really went through everyone and said hi. So just hi to everyone who's here.
It's been quiet here. The time goes so fast. I don't know what's going on with me. I've done almost nothing but sleep since I last saw you.
Mhm.
Sleep and watch TV and go on the computer, and that's about it. And read. Oh, I read a good book, but it seems like I can't believe it's already been 2 whole weeks since we did this last. I mean, I
No,
know when
well,
I was working, time went a lot slower, and you work, so probably doesn't seem too fast for you. But for me, somehow it just kind of zoomed by. It only feels like a couple days ago since we did this.
yeah, no, you're right. The time does go fast.
So, oh, I got this new book. I got it on Kindle. It's by a fellow New Yorker, I believe she is, named Susan Wands. Has anybody heard of her, Susan Wands? She wrote this book called
Yeah, I have. Oh, I've heard of her because of your post. Sorry. Ignore me.
Yeah.
Carry on, Robin.
It's called The Magician and the Fool, or Magician and Fool. And it's a fictionalized account of Pixie's early years and her indoctrination into the Order of the Golden Dawn and encounters with Waite and Bram Stoker and Aleister Crowley. And it's really a lot of fun. And it turns out, I found her on Facebook. She's continuing. There's a teaser at the end of the book for a second book called High Priestess and Empress. So I thought, oh, this is going to be a whole series. She's working her way through the whole major arcana. And so it's going to be 11 volumes. So this is going to be like the Harry Potter for our set, I think. It's like a sort of a fantasy fictional thing. Because I always kind of wanted to know, what Pixie's early life was like and, what the Order of the Golden Dawn was like. And this isn't going to be, true to anything. I mean, it's fictional, but still it's fun. It adds, because it's fictional rather than a textbook or biography, it adds a lot more color and interest into the story. It's storytelling, So
Yeah.
it's really fun. So yeah, I read that. Oh, Jilly knows about it too. Oh,
Yeah, I think a few
Simon's.
people have read it.
I didn't. I must be late to the party. Simon, do you have it too, or did you read it too, Sandra?
It looks like it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I really enjoyed it, and then after the fact, I got. I was craving more, so I ordered The Pious Pixie. That I think it's a biography about her. I know that's the most recent one. So I'm starting to read that now, but I'm only a few pages in, so I don't know. Oh, Simon read it 3 years ago. So she told me on Facebook that the second one is done, although I can't find it anywhere yet, and the third one is in like final editing process. So it's working. You know, I don't know how
Cool.
long it'll be before it comes out. But anyway, I really enjoyed that, and found it really entertaining. Um,
Good.
I also I was going to ask you, did you get anything fun for your birthday? But I think you're going to do a reveal in another live on
Yeah,
Thursday
on
or something,
on
right?
Thursday, during my live on Thursday, I'll go through my stuff that I got. I did get some. The boy did well, so he did. I did get some really cool stuff. So I'm excited to show everyone what I got.
Justin just came in, and that mystical lady. Welcome.
Hey, Justin, and that
Um,
mystical lady.
so yeah, well, that'll be fun on Thursday. I also noticed late that hey, Richard Longman Tarot. I just
Hi,
noticed
Richard.
that you had done something earlier today too that I haven't watched yet, but I'll.
I did. It was just an impromptu, random pop up. It wasn't like pre-scheduled or anything. I normally pre-record a video on a Monday and put it up, but I thought, you know what? See, today I'm going to do something a wee bit different. I thought, whilst the wee and sleeping, I'll um I'll just pop on and see everybody kind of thing and have a wee, see if anyone pops on. And there was a good few people there, so there was. So it's a good turnout. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's quite a quick one. I think it was about half an hour it lasted for. So it's not one of those ones that's like 2 hours and it'll be kind of long to get through. I think it's quite a quick video. It was fun as
Yeah.
well. So
Well,
yeah,
I want you to know I'd have been there if I'd known about it. I usually need a little more heads up. Often
yeah.
the computer shut off and I don't know until if I'm sleeping. I don't know about it till later or whatever. Oh, here
I no,
comes
don't worry about
Jen.
it.
Jen Hen, Jen the Hen, Science to Soul
Hi,
and
Hen.
Transformation just came in. And what else is I was thinking maybe I'll talk. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you about. I've been dragging out all my RWS decks and being a little bit more discerning about them lately. And um, I wanted to ask you. You've been showing your Universal that you got, and now I have two Universal decks: the smallish one and the regular size one. I don't
Hmm.
have the one that came in the tin, so I don't know if it's the same as the original smaller one that came out. But the one that you have, the regular size one, is yours glossy? Because I think we
No.
have different editions. Mine has the stars on the back. Wait, I'll show you.
Right.
Mine has that back,
Yeah. Mine
and
just.
it's really
Oh,
glossy. Is yours glossy or just sort of?
no. No,
Oh,
it's not. I think mine's is from 1990. Mine's was like kind of from one of the first runs of it, I believe, because it came out in the 90s, I think, and mine's was copyrighted to 1990. So, and it's not glossy. Well, I'm rubbish with cardstock, to be honest. I don't really know how to describe it. Um, but
well,
yeah, it's just like kind of
I also noticed the backs of mine are different, from the
right.
regular size to the little one.
Yeah,
And the coloring and the finish is different on them. The regular size is glossy, the other one's a little more satiny.
right,
And the smaller one is slightly more orange,
right. Okay.
and the other one is more washed out. But now, so I don't know if yours looks a little washed out or not, because your edition seems different if it doesn't have a glossy finish to it.
Um, I, I don't know. What do you mean by washed out? Sorry, Robin. And hi to Elle. Elle's popped in. Hey, Elle, how you doing?
I
How do you
know.
mean washed out?
I mean, some of the colors in the background, like the atmosphere and the skies, have a little more white in them, and
Um,
it's more like scrambled egg than sunny side up. A little more
so more
pale
pastel, pale pastel.
pale yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Mine is quite pale. Um, it's
Mm.
quite hard to see because it's the light for the screen that's basically reflecting onto it there. It's quite hard to kind of show you. I get that. That's probably about as good as I'm going to get. Um, but yeah, the colours are quite pastel. They're quite pale. But I quite like it. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it's really nice.
I had something that a little exercise, a little quiz for the people in the room. Hey, Jamie, I'm going to bring in our surprise guests, though, if they're
I was going
ready.
to say, I think the cat's out the bag, to be honest, just judging
Oh,
by the
everybody
chat. So,
knows. Oh, everybody knows our surprise already.
well, Robin, I mean, somebody did put it on the barely balanced divination, then, so I
Yeah,
wasn't really sure
well,
that it would be that much a surprise.
I guess all these people know then. Okay. I'll bring her in. Here she comes.
Oh, there
Hold
she
on.
is. Hi, Mandy.
Hey,
Hi.
lovely Mandy.
Hold on, I'm crooked. Let me see.
I was.
I hate StreamYard. You never
I
know which
love
direction
it,
to
but
go.
let me switch the. Can I do the? Ooh, I like that one better.
That's better.
That
That's
better.
better. Yeah.
I was teasing Chris earlier because I've been lounging around and I thought, oh, it's Monday again. I'll get myself together and do this. And then he said, well, Mandy wants to share this thing. Let's bring her in too. I said, oh, that sounds like fun. So I said to Chris, I'm going to have a shower and a shave since we're having a guest.
Yeah,
Hi,
that's more than I
Jamie.
get,
Hi,
Mandy.
Jen.
So I got myself together. I'm even wearing pants today, Chris.
Oft. Jeez,
Thank
oh,
you for
are you?
putting pants on for me, Robin.
I was going to say, are you the queen or something, Mandy? And I just don't know about it.
No, I usually am very comfortable with a blanket across my lap. And today I'm very constricted in my tight jeans. Well, they're not tight, but sitting down on the bed here,
Light
they're
going on
kind
here.
of tight.
Simon, it wasn't it was Robin posted it on the Barely Balanced Divination then, so it wasn't a secret at all. It
Yeah,
was
no
common knowledge
secret.
essentially.
Secret.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go live. I was going back and forth about going live tonight, but I didn't want to go at the same time you guys went, obviously. And I'm fading today. I probably look like crap. I'm fading today, so I didn't think I was going to get it done, and I knew I couldn't do it tomorrow. So when you asked, Robin, I really appreciated it
Oh,
because
good. So are we going to do a lead in? You're still going to go live for a little bit more after this, or no? No, you
no,
canceled.
I think, yeah, I canceled it. I think what I'm going to do is this will be a little sneak peek, and then I'm going to do a full up close video, camera down. And I really want to do it with good side by sides with some of my other decks from the same artist, and
Okay.
do a real close look.
Well, we're going to keep people in suspense for a little bit about your treat. We're not going to do it right at first, unless
Okay.
unless there's a vote, everybody wants to do it and get it out of the way. But I'd kind of rather leave them hanging and excited for something to come. Wanted to say hi to Brant, who popped
Hi,
in.
Brant.
Hey, Brant.
Well seen you're a kind of radio type person, Robin.
What?
I'm saying well seen you do like radio and stuff like that. You're like
Really?
what would you call yourself, a DJ or what?
Oh, yeah,
You know,
I
you do
host
your
a
music thing?
show. I have a Monday night show every week
Yeah,
on luxuriamusic.com. It's called the Dark Day Escape Pod.
yeah.
And I don't talk much on it, though, not like here. I mean, I mostly just play the music and then announce, the credits for what they are about every half hour.
The
Do it
reason I
now.
say
Oh,
that is
everybody's
because
screaming now, now, now. Nobody can wait. All right. Okay.
Simon, do it. Okay,
All
so
right, Mandy, go ahead.
so I finally
make
got my
Mendy full screen, Robin.
What?
Give Mendy the full screen.
Oh, yeah.
making it full screen. So I finally, and I did unwrap it. I've already unwrapped it, but I put it back in its back in the boxes so that I could show you. But I've received my package from Cartogram, which is the card maker, the handmade card makers in France who are doing the Palo related decks. They also, Agnes is the woman who does them, and she also does her own deck. She does a Noblet. Well, she's working on a Noblet. She has a Dodal, and she's also going to be working on a Converse. She has a Worth. I think Justin was interested in getting the Worth, and I forget what else is on there, but yeah, I'll put, when I do my video of the full walkthrough of everything, I'll put her link to her website, but she is phenomenal. And you may have seen this on Masha's. Masha got her copy a couple weeks ago, and she also received this Dodal. Now, this is not a handmade deck. This is a manufactured deck, but it is a beautiful, beautiful facsimile of the Dodal. And I mean, everything that Agnes does, it's just, and this is like a linen finish. It's, I'm dragging this out for the main event. This is, it's just gorgeous cardstock. Show a couple cards. You can see, this is a facsimile. This is not a reproduction. So of course it's all of the original lines and so forth. And you can see Masha has a full walkthrough of this deck on her channel. She's unfortunately teaching right now, so she wanted to be here. But this is gorgeous. So once I saw Masha's copy, I also had to order this. But really the big deck that I ordered, which is by far my most expensive tarot purchase ever, and just so amazing, is my Pablo Robledo Bedezon. And it comes in this gorgeous blue velvet pouch. I also commissioned with Agnes to make a custom box. So she does these in this, which is a synthetic leather, but also real leather, but I had already spent it off, so I went with the synthetic leather. And I got to pick what was on the inside. And it fits the deck. There's a little bit of extra room in there, but not much. And it just closes up like that. And then here is the deck. And it's just beautiful. There's my card. I've got number 3 of 50. And let me take this out of the wrapper. These are the backs. And if you watched Masha's premiere, you would have seen that she had the rice paper copy, which was a bit whiter and a little bit thinner. This is the handmade paper, which is why it took longer for me to get it, because they're made to order. So she started making this when I ordered it. So I commissioned it and I had to put a deposit down, and then luckily I was able to pay in two parts because it was pretty pricey. But I've got a copy of the rice paper to show you the difference, because she sent me some additional cards. So you can see, well, this is just the title card, but you can see the rice paper is a little bit lighter and not as textured. Whereas the hand, yeah.
Can you give the name of everyone's asking for links, but I don't know if you can put a link or not.
I don't think I can, because I'm not a moderator. If
I could make you one if you put a note in there, because I can't find your
Why don't we let Mandy show the deck and stuff first, and then she can pop some links in after she's done. Is that maybe easier, Robin?
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll put a link in. But let me just show you some of the cards from the deck. So she has, what really turned me on to this was that they were posting all of these videos of her hand making these cards. I mean, the backs are glued to the front, just like they did back in, the 18th century, 19th century card making. Then she made a hand glue laminate to laminate them. They're very flexible, but very sturdy. And they've got this, I don't think you can, because I've got headphones in, you can't hear it, but it's just got this smooth, I can't even describe the sound that it makes when it rubs against. I don't have any other decks that feel this way. It's the most amazing feeling. I can't even describe the way this feels. It's just amazing. But let me show you some more of the cards. And it just shows some of Pablo's beautiful colors. That's, of course, this is a Juno and Jupiter deck because it is a song. And like his Marcella, it just basically has taken all of his favorite Bezos decks to combine and make what would be his perfected Bezos. So this isn't based on any one, it's based on several. The faces are very much like the matinee. He said that about 15% of this deck comes from the Tarot de Matinee. And then there's a whole list of other decks that he's used to draw from to make this. But it's just, here, let me show you some of the pips. It's very clean, but it still has a very old feel to it. It's got a very traditional feel, but it's a very clean looking deck. But it's drawn very modern for a modern Marseille. I can't stop touching it, really. It's just, the feel of it is amazing. So there it is. So that's my cardiogram. And I sent Masha, because she has the same deck in the rice paper, and I sent her a message when I got it saying, it was here and we'd been waiting so long for it to come in. And I said, I don't need any other deck. This is the last deck I'll ever need. And then I immediately followed it up. I put this in the chat with Nancy. I followed up with, that's a lie. I need the Noble. So I will be saving my money to order the Noble from Agnes here as soon as she has it fully finished. But she says she's pretty close to having it done. And she's going to be doing a conver too. So I'll probably be looking at the conver. I don't know that I'll need the Dodal, because I really like this facsimile that she did. But I'm really in love with it. And that's it. So I'll do a full walkthrough, and I'll put all the links and stuff in my video when I get that up, which I'll try to do tonight or maybe late tomorrow.
So that's quite an investment. Did you spend the twins' college education fund on that?
Yes, one of the twins cannot go to college. We decided only one could go so that mommy could have her special deck.
No, it does look really nice, Mindy. It does. It looks
Yeah,
really, really nice. I'm kind of
you know,
watching like that because I don't want to get tempted, you know, that way.
it was I really had a hard time writing that first email to Agnes, but once I ordered it, I had no regrets afterwards. And once I had it in my hand, it's like this is now how I judge every other deck. I'm judging every other deck by this deck now.
So this is the most recent one, and tell us again what the name of it is.
It's the it's the name of the deck is the Pellegrino Bezesson.
Okay.
So that's just his name for it because it's his Bezesson. It's not after anyone. So you can see it's just Tarot de Bezesson.
Okay.
By Robledo. Because it's not a reproduction of any historic deck. And it's printed, it's handmade by Cartogram, Agnes Kipler at Cartogram.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's actually not my most recent deck because after that one got delivered by DHL, I had a little baby Noble show up. And that one's Endless Skies.
That's quite nice.
So this is actually my most recent deck. But
exciting stuff. Robin, I could hear you typing away like a keyboard warrior whilst Mindy was speaking. It sounded like that keyboard had offended your great ancestors, and you were showing it whose pause. I was chuckling away to myself because all you could hear was.
I know, I could hear him.
Sorry, I should have muted the mic. I didn't realize.
No, it's all right. It made me laugh.
I was trying to work out the link in the chat because I actually did open the YouTube chat today and silence that, but I couldn't find a link. I guess you have to go to the Facebook page for Cartogram or something.
No. Here, I've got a link. Did you make me a mod in YouTube?
Well, just type anything in there so I can find your name to make you a mod.
Oh, I see.
Just put a note in there. Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. Nobody do anything yet.
Don't make the chat jump.
Add moderator. Okay.
Okay, and then,
now you are, I believe. So.
Okay, so this is a link to the Cartogram site. And
oh no, wait a minute. It didn't do it.
No. Yeah. Only I can see that, I think.
Wait, it says it did, but it doesn't say. Well, type something again and see if you're in blue yet.
Nope. Oh, there I am.
There you go.
Okay, let me try now. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the link for Cartogram. So yeah, the Robledo decks are a little bit on the lower end of their pricing. Well, they have some that are less, and it's all custom, so she'll work with you. I know somebody on the Tarot de Marseille Facebook group did the CBD tarot. They sent her the CBD tarot and had it done. I don't know if they did it on the rice paper or on the same paper that she printed this on, but they also edged it in gold leaf and did a box like this. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it was all custom. And that's not something that she offers on her website. You just email her and tell her what you want, and then she'll price it out for you. But she does it all by hand. And there are videos. I'll post some, when I do my full walkthrough, I'll post some links to her videos that I kept sending to Justin. I think I was sending them to Justin. I've sent them to somebody saying, you need to watch this paper porn because it's just watching them make the cards and hand make that. It was mesmerizing. I would just watch them over and over and over again.
Yeah, Justin sent that to me. So he did. He sent me one where they were putting the kind of gold foiling on.
Yes.
The gold foiling on it, the card.
Yeah. Sarah asked if that was the Laurent I showed before. No, this is the facsimile Dadal from Cartogram. The Laurent is I just put up a video of the Laurent. It should be public now. I think made it public right before we came on here. So you should be able to see that. And that's another Eve stack. Eve Renault.
Cool.
Okay. And Chris, you're into Marseille now, or am I wrong about that?
I'm trying to be careful not to get too into it, Robin. I'm enjoying using the Marseilles that I've got, but I'm still at that stage where I can't tell I don't know the individual different types of Marseille, and I think that is for the better that I just stay ignorant to that, because as soon as I start getting too knowledgeable about it, that's when I want to get this type of one and this type of one and maybe another one of these, maybe a wee backup, and no, we don't want to go down that route.
I keep going in and out of waves like I'm surfing. At the moment, I'm not on a Marseille wave. I'm back to RWS again, but I go in and out. I actually have 2 decks on the way. They're old decks. The ones that one JJ Swiss, which is, I guess, sort of Marseille.
It's a basic song.
And then the other one is the Blushing Fool. So I've got sort of like the earliest of both that I recall from, my early days of collecting, or before I collected. But I wanted to sort of bring us back to RWS for a minute, if you don't mind too much.
Yeah, fire away. I'm excited to see this quiz that you've put together.
Well, it's sort of a quiz and yet not a quiz. I was thinking about Saturday, in case all of you don't know, Justin Michael has reinstated the Saturday Marseille study group. And Saturday it was just Chris and he and I, and we hope more people will join us. But while we were there, we were talking about, keywords. I was taking notes about keywords and numerology and elementals and so forth. And anyway, so I dragged out my my RWS, actually, the Centennial Tarot and the Little White Book that put me off originally the first time I got a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and was trying to remember why I was put off. So I started looking at the key words and the first 2. And so that's kind of what I want to do with the quiz, because I want to put it out to everybody in the chat too. The key words in here completely and utterly confused me when I first got the Little White Book in my first deck. And I tossed the whole thing aside no less than 6 times before I finally said, all right, just look at the cards and forget about the book if the book is giving you trouble. But I'm looking at the book again now to see, does it still give me trouble? And I still have some issues with it. So I'm looking at the Little White Book, and I'm going to give you the key words here for the Magician and the Fool, and both the upright and the reversed, and see if they resonate with all of you. So for the Magician, and if it works for you, put a yes or a Y in the chat. And if it doesn't work for you, put a no or an N in the chat. And I'll ask you guys too. So for the Magician, the first one is skill. And for me, that's a yes.
Definitely, yeah.
Works for you guys? Mm-hmm. Not so much for Mendy, skill?
So my way of reading has gotten away from keywords. So it would depend on what cards were around him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there could be skill.
Okay.
You know, there could be skill.
We get some yeses. Oh, Sarah says no. Interesting. The second one is diplomacy. That works for me.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's not a diplomatic character, but I wouldn't look at the magician and think, oh yeah, diplomacy.
Well, these are all words that you could read into, you know, interpretations and stuff for your readings, depending on what else is going around. Now, I see him. Thanks for holding up the card there. In fact, I'm going to put you in solo so we can see it a little bit easier. So I see him as, you know, he's behind the desk and he's obviously got an audience. So in that regard, he's relating to an audience. And I see that as a kind of diplomatic thing. Anybody moderating or leading or presenting to a group of people could be considered diplomatic to me. So I'm okay with the diplomacy. Although, let's say we're getting a lot of no's on that. Interesting. And Sue says opposite. Interesting. Okay. So I'm the only one that diplomacy works for. The third one is address. And I thought, address? And the only thing I can think of is he's addressing people. So that in the same regard as diplomacy, I'll accept address.
I can see that more readily than diplomacy. I
Yeah.
can see him performing or addressing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very kind of divine masculine energy, the magician, for me. So yeah, addressing and kind of drawing people in, that kind of thing, definitely.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly, Sarah. What Sarah says. Exactly. Step right up.
Yeah, kind of. Okay. So the next four really give me trouble. Remember, this is in the upright position. We're not reversed yet. The next one is sickness. Does anybody see sickness in this card? And if you do see sickness, please explain to me how, what context you can read this as sickness.
I mean, no, I don't see sickness.
Because I can only see it as in sickness in terms of reversed. Like I could sort of see him as a healer, you know, and if it was reversed, maybe sickness, but not upright. I don't see that as sickness.
Again, Robin, I mean, I think it would depend on circumstances. If you're using in a spread, it would depend on the question and it would depend on the cards around it. Because I think that maybe the magician could be looked at as a healer, like you just said. And in that case, if it came up that someone was in need of a healer or was in need of a magician.
Okay.
You know, I think that there's a lot of different, you know, it would really depend on the circumstances around when it was pulled.
All right, I'm going to group the next three together because they're very similar. And you tell sickness, pain, loss, disaster. Do any of those relate to the magician upright for you? Sickness, pain, loss, disaster.
Sickness, pain, and loss. I don't see it.
I think you may be sort of seeing why I originally had issues with the little white book. It made no sense to me.
I mean, I suppose you could really. I mean, if you think about him as like the kind of old style magician, which is the kind of trickster energy, that could maybe have an air of disaster about it. But I feel as though to put that in as a key word is quite confusing, and this is why I would always say, like, if you're starting out, I don't think the little white book is really all that helpful. Certainly not a little white book like that. They are a lot better these days, you know. But yeah, no, I think you would need more context to understand where the disaster was coming from, you know.
And yet, this little white book comes standard with every copy of the deck that a beginner might buy. Maybe it's time for Stuart Kaplan to reconsider the little white book that he's including in there. But anyway, we'll move on. The next one is self-confidence, and the one after that is will. Now, those
Yeah.
work for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just those negative ones don't. And even if they were reversed, I'm not sure they would. But the reverse meanings now are physician, magus, mental illness, disgrace, and disquiet. I maybe threw too many of them at you at once, but I don't read reversals, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. The disgrace. Yeah. The magus is just another word for magician, so
That's
surely
what I
that would
thought.
be
Yeah.
1 pointless and 2 upright, no?
Yeah.
Um,
You'd think so.
yeah.
Uh,
Any more?
I don't know. That's yeah. What did I say? Oh, physician. Well, physician I could see as upright, not reverse. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Physician, magus, mental illness, disgrace, and disquiet. So I don't know. Those are all kind of a mess for me. I would say out of the 10 or so words there are only about 3 or 4 that make sense to me. I know a lot of people use skill. Actually, they didn't use talents, and I hear people sometimes use talents as a keyword there, or tools. I don't know if other people have comments about that. Trickster. I think the trickster's more in the Marseille than in the RWS. It's a different kind of magician. This magician seems to make magic. The other one seems to be more like a sleight of hand guy, maybe selling snake oil or something. So I think that's a very different approach to the image between the two schools of thought. Sue says meanings change over time, but I can't see how they could change that much from these particular keywords. I think the problem is, I mean, this little chapter in the White Book says the greater arcana and their divinatory meanings. So, I mean, if you were first buying this deck and reading the book, I believe it's the same book that comes with all of them, even though this one's with the Centennial. I think that this is standard with all the Rider-Waite books. I don't think they changed the text. And these keywords are really not very encouraging, I don't think, to a newcomer or a new learner that needs something to grab onto to begin their study.
Yeah. I've just had a thought, by the way, for anyone who's like just new coming onto this channel and comes in and just sees me sitting like this, but hears a disembodied voice, they're going to be like, this guy's a really accomplished ventriloquist. I should get like my wee pumpkin up here and just feel like as if it's him that's talking.
I'm a terrible multitasker.
And your name says Chris, but it's Robin.
All right, let's go to the Fool then. The Fool, and I'll just tell you the upright ones, and then we'll do for upright. On the Fool, it says folly, mania, extravagance, intoxication, delirium, frenzy, and bewrayment. I've never even heard of bewrayment.
Okay.
So a lot of those seem to me like they relate more to the maybe the Marseille Fool. Folly, possibly. Mania, I don't see. Or extravagance. Intoxication, maybe. Delirium, possibly.
I see extravagance. I mean, the clothes, right, the stance, the kind of prancing gait that he seems to have. I see extravagance.
But I know we discuss these a lot in like Jen's Playdate and other places. What comes to mind when you see the card, and I tell you, a lot of the things that people see don't come up in this little white book, and a lot of these don't come up in those discussions. So many of us seem to have a very different approach now to, Justin said these are all in Waite's book. So yeah, I'm kind of wondering where the heck Waite was at when he wrote the book. It seemed like so much different from what Pixie ended up drawing in her illustrations. I don't know.
Who's the author of the book? Does it say who authored the Little White Book?
I have to say, I feel as though a lot of those words that you just read out, Robin, probably do resonate. Perhaps more with the reverse full. I think we tend to, and I think it's funny because like upright meanings and reverse meanings I think are quite personal to different people. How you reverse a card can vary quite a lot just depending on the individual reader. But things like folly and even intoxication, I get it. It's this idea of like, can I just dancing through the streets, or like the fool in the Deviant Moon is somebody. He's basically dancing through the streets. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks of him, and it's a similar kind of energy in the traditional fool. It's like he's firing on ahead. He's ignoring the dog, which represents society, like kind of their expectations of him, and he's just going for it. Intoxication, I can understand how that comes into it, because that could be one of the reasons that you're in that state. So I certainly understand those a lot more than some of the stuff you read out for the magician, I have to say.
It says instructions excerpted from The Key to the Tarot by Arthur Edward Waite.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering whether we should, what's the word? Approach Stuart. Is Stuart Kaplan still alive? Whether we should approach him about revising his little white books, like not to delete Waite stuff since the deck was based on Waite, but possibly to add in some more current things for newcomers to the deck, because this is just like almost useless and pointless to anybody coming along that discovered it for the first time. Simon says he's still alive. I don't know.
He sold off a lot of his collection a few years ago. So is he still involved?
If anybody knows of an interview with him, either in print or in video somewhere, where he discusses this information, I would love to read it, because I just don't see how it's justified being used in indoctrinating new people into the tarot.
Well, it is. Arwen knows him personally, and Justin wrote him a letter. Okay. It is, Waite's deck, so I can see why they would use Waite's book.
Yeah, well, there's also an introduction in here by Stuart Kaplan. So, I mean, I can see why they would, leave the instructions as is with Waite, but maybe there needs to be, and maybe it would just make the little white book too big. I was going to say maybe there needs to be a keyword appendix or something for more contemporary usage or something. Because there's a lot of people, when they talk about the Fool, talk about vulnerability or openness or childlike qualities, or I don't know, you can toss out other keywords. My mind is going blank now, which is very, very Fool. Just kind of an openness to new things and new possibilities. And yeah, I should have been a little more prepared in my keywords. But I think I wanted to see where everybody else was at in interpreting the ones that gave me trouble. And it looks like Justin says Robin's going to go all Karen and Stuart Kaplan.
I think one
I
of the
think
things.
we
Sorry,
need
Robin.
to change that. I'm feeling sorry for the Karens of the world, since that one woman named Karen has given them all a bad name now. But sorry, what were you going to say, Chris?
I was just going to say, I think we need to remember that Pictorial Key to the Tarot, like Waite lived, don't know when he died, I don't know what his lifespan was, but I mean, this deck was created in the early 1900s, so probably talking mainly 1800s, maybe. Um, and the tarot meanings have changed. Patishi talks a bit about this. Like, even if you go back to like the 60s and the 70s, some of the meanings were totally different. This is supposed to be a reflection of like kind of society and life, the psyche, and these things kind of, we don't really notice it until we kind of look at the stark differences. These things change and change over time, over and over again. So it does make sense that looking at a book like that, why they might not resonate with us today. But at the same time, like Mendy says, this is, Waite and Pixie's tarot. They were of that time, so you can understand why. If you're selling the book, if you're selling the deck, you would want to sell it with a little white book that's true to the deck when it was created.
I find it interesting, though, that we don't resonate with the text, but we still resonate with the images, because, as you said, they're from the same time as the text, and yet we seem to be able to relate updated even to these old images, whereas we don't relate to the text. But I think there was one thing that Waite did say in his book that I took away and basically threw the rest of the book out, which was that the tarot is all in the symbols. So basically it's reading symbols rather than reading text or reading copy. It's this visual language that we relate to more than it is.
Absolutely, Robin. And that's why, you talk about the 18, this deck that was created in 1909.
Yeah.
That was the first printing of this deck. I just got my 5th copy of the Noblet, which was printed in, when was the Noblet printed? That's the earliest that we know of, right? And that still resonates.
Yeah.
That's still, and it's not about keywords, because otherwise we would have little cards filled with words and pick the words that met the situation. Instead, we look at pictures and the function of what the people on those cards are doing to derive meaning out of them. So really, I think the keywords are useless.
And yet, language derived from pictures. If you go back to cave paintings, they just had images, and then language came out of that. So whether they're different at the turn of the 19th or 20th century or now in the 21st century, we have made or created a new language with these old images. They still communicate.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's, the keywords, I think, they're nice to have when you you're uncomfortable trying to read the picture and come up with your own words for what's going on in the picture. But really, you should be able to quickly throw them out once you get familiar with the images on the cards. And it's funny because I just came out of the class with her, so I'm quoting, going back to her nonstop. But Camellia Elias doesn't even go to archetypes. She doesn't even go into that. She says it's about function. It's about look at what they're doing on the cards and the function that's happening. Are they sitting? Are they standing? Are they, holding up something? Are they holding down something? And just look at the function of what they're doing. Don't even worry about what they signify.
Well, I wonder if we if we were assigned the task to rewrite the Little White Book as a means to introduce newcomers to the tarot, what might we say that would be encouraging to them and help them develop their skills in approaching this set of 78 cards? Would it be what you just said? Or would we say, well, you might need a book, you might need more than just these images, but if you do need a book, you're going to have to go find a textbook. We're not going to give it to you here in a few words. Or how it's sort of like it's a tool, but all tools usually come with some kind of instruction. So what instruction might you give one that is buying a deck for the first time?
I think there's lots and lots of really good kind of modern, books. Obviously, I'm going to plug Rachel Pollack here because, as you all know, I love Rachel Pollack, and do you know what I mean? Like she's got like Tarot Wisdom. I mean, she's got umpteen really really good books that kind of serve the purpose that we're talking about here, that we're looking for. Granted, it's not a little white book, but I mean, even decks that you buy today, you can get decks that have like kind of, what do we call them, medium white books. That are actually pretty. They've got some pretty decent information on them. So I think it's becoming less and less of an issue as time goes on. Where I think deck creators and producers are becoming a bit more savvy to the fact that these little white books aren't really, that they're not worth the paper that they're written on almost.
Yeah, there's some really amazing little white books out there. And some that are not even that aren't just recent either. Like from Art Lynch, I just purchased an old copy of the Mythic Tarot. I've been looking for one of the old versions of the Mythic Tarot, and that book is amazing. That book is phenomenal, and that was from 86, something like that, 84.
Well, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and Sue just said, go buy a Mary Greer book. Somebody else. I mean, teach yourself tarot for yourself. Incredible workbook to work through learning tarot in a way that speaks to you personally, not just memorizing words.
Well, yeah, this is all well and good, but and this works because we have community and we can, recommend things to each other. But if you're a newcomer coming along, you don't have that. Now, let me put this to the two of you. If you had a friend that decided all of a sudden they wanted to get into tarot, and I suspect I already know Mendy's answer to this. If you had somebody come to you and said, oh, I think I'd like to read tarot, which deck should I get first, and how do I find out about reading it? What would each of you advise that person?
I just had that. My daughter said she wanted to learn. And so I told her, go look at my shelves and pick a deck and tell me which one appeals to you, which one you like, and I'll tell you if you can have it or not. Because of course I wasn't going to give her like a super expensive deck, but and she picked two. She picked the Tarot of the Divine, and she picked the Whispering Spirits Tarot. And so I gave her that book, I forget what it's called, that goes with the Tarot of the Divine, that has all because I knew she would like all the fairy tales that go with her. And then I also gave her 78 Degrees of Wisdom and Tarot for Yourself.
Okay.
And I said, here, and I also gave her a link to a couple different YouTube people that had good beginner, instructions for beginner things. I said, start here and then let's talk. And,
yeah, I suspect even with that help, she's going to have questions and be coming back to you.
Of course, but like you said, even, tools come with instructions. Just because somebody buys a hand drill and it may have, the pamphlet that comes with the hand drill, that doesn't mean they know how to build a bookcase.
Right. Yeah.
Right? They may know how to plug it in, and they may know how to turn it to go one way, right, and turn it to go left, and but that doesn't mean they're going to know how to build something with it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go to other resources.
What about you, Chris? Well, I was going to say, I bet Mendy would suggest a Marseille deck to start with and give them some book having to related to that. But Chris, what would you tell a newcomer?
I think in a similar vein to what Mendy said, I think it really has to depend on the person. So I think the person has to be drawn to what attracts them. Now, what I would maybe say is, some people might be more attracted to a more visual type system, such as the RWS, such as decks like that. Some people might be more kind of logical and intellectual, is that the right word to use? But they might be more kind of systematic in their head, where a Marseille slash numerology type system might work better for them. I think it really depends on what type of learner you are. And so I think to that degree, you have to let someone be attracted to the kind of system that's going to work for them. If someone was like more interested in like an RWS type of system, I would always recommend the Lightseers deck. And I know I'm always going on about the Lightseers, but not just for the actual deck itself. I think the deck is really, really nice. Like the images are so well done. Not just for that though, but if you go onto the website that comes with the Lightseers, there's so much amazing information on that website. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Like Chris Han has done such an amazing job of like, you know, putting that deck together and all of the information that someone would need to go with it.
Let me
So
ask you though, if you were coming to the Lightseers for the first time without having had a background in RWS, do you think you would have found it as easy to work with?
well, no, because I wouldn't have had like 20 years experience working with tarot in general.
Yeah.
But
See, I'm of two minds because I agree that you really have to choose a deck that you're drawn to in order to keep your interest to work with it. But I also kind of feel like the RWS is sort of the Rosetta Stone of the tarot in one school of thinking, and that it's a good idea to get familiar with the RWS before you pick up any RWS clone or RWS inspired deck to work with. I'm
why
just wondering.
why do you think it has to be the actual RWS first, Robin?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because that was the original that established all the concepts. I'd be curious to see if somebody who, say, started with the Lightseers tarot and then was handed an RWS, whether they would be able to read with the RWS or not.
The RWS wasn't the original, Robin. The RWS is just the one that has took off and has been propagated through North America and the UK. If you go to France or Italy or you go to South America, they have never seen the RWS.
I'm talking about in contemporary times,
I am too.
I'm talking about, well, if you look at all the decks that come out now, the bulk of them are RWS inspired or RWS copied. So I'm saying, since they're all basically derived from that deck, that's why I would say start there. Now, I know what you're saying about, decks hundreds of years past. Even the RWS was inspired by Solabusca and,
right,
other decks further back. But I'm just saying that, all the decks that are currently coming out mass market and everywhere now, the bulk of them were RWS inspired. So it might behoove one to become more familiar with the RWS.
I learned on the RWS. You told me to bring an RWS, so I brought my blushing fluid. I've got a lot of RWS decks, and I learned on the RWS, and I don't have anything against the RWS, and I go back to it, and I have a lot of RWS clones. But I don't see the RWS as having any sort of special, I guess, in-depth imagery that would allow anyone to learn to read tarot any more than any other tarot deck that's based on the same 78 card system with 22 majors and 4 suits. And I feel like it's not the imagery is really the imagery. I think Chris said it, you've got to pick something that appeals to you. Like the Light Seers does not appeal to me at all. I offered the Light Seers to my daughter because I've had it on the shelf and I never use it, and I was hoping she'd take it because I really wanted to sell the Whispering Spirits, and I've edged the Light Seers and it's not pretty, so I can't sell it. And she didn't have any. It didn't appeal to her either. But so many people love that deck.
Yeah.
And it speaks to so many people. And there are so many people out there that look at the RWS and see nothing, but then look at the Light Seers and the images speak to them.
Yeah.
So I don't think the RWS has any sort of magical.
There's some kind of common connection because they're from a similar school. Otherwise, I understand that the images are different, but there's some common thread between the two that makes them the RWS system.
I think it's commercialism. I think it's the fact that Stuart Kaplan and US Games continue to produce that deck year in and year out in different versions, and it was the only deck that you could get. And the majority of deck creators and people that have grown up over the past several decades have had that have grown up in tarot, have had those images instilled in their mind, because if you walked into any metaphysical store up until just recently, that was pretty much the only deck you could get.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's commercialism. It's the fact that that was the deck that was readily available. Had Thoth been more readily accessible, everything would be based on Thoth. I think that's what I was saying. I mean, if you go into stores down in South America, it's all Marseille. They hardly get any of the RWS clones that we have up here down there, because RWS just did not filter down there.
I think we might be talking at cross purposes here. I'm talking about the conveyance of meaning within one system. So, we have a whole array of RWS inspired decks, and yet, even though the images are different, the Fool card in each of those decks conveys to some degree similar meanings. Otherwise, it would be total chaos. It would just all be what do you call them, decks? Not Oracle, exactly, Oracle decks. So we're using a system. The system has some kind of basis that conveys something from one deck to another and so on.
See if I can can I say something here? So
yeah,
I think I think the debate over what's the most historically significant deck and all that kind of thing, that's a discussion in its own. But I think the key for me, Robin, is what the question that you asked me was, if someone was new to the tarot and they were coming in wanting to learn.
Yeah.
That for me is why RWS, it's not important that you pick what you see to be the most historically significant, because who cares about historical significance? You're coming in to learn. You're not coming in to be, to pay all respect to the tarot and do all that kind of thing. You're coming in to learn these cards. You're coming in to learn how to use it. And I think that's the key for me. The most important thing in what you asked was, or the most important thing that I got from it was, someone's wanting to learn how to use these things. So for me, it doesn't make a difference whether that's the most original RWS you could possibly find, or whether it's the Light Seers, or whether it's some other RWS system deck. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether it's the original or whether it's some new clone, or whatever word you want to use. It has to be something that resonates with that person. So I would never recommend to someone, oh, you should always go for the RWS because it was the first, or that it's the one that they're all based off.
Well,
That's not really important as a learner for me.
I don't think I meant it so much as a historical thing as it's sort of like I think when you back in school when you studied languages, they had a lot of people take up Latin because so many other languages were derived from Latin. Now, I never studied Latin, but there must have been a reason why they decided that Latin was the thing to take up prior to studying French or German or Spanish. And so I kind of feel similarly about the RWS. But when it comes down to it, for me, it's me and my channel, my main purpose here is to make things accessible to people. So it's like I muddle through my own learning process. And when we do readings, and we're about to do a few, I hope, I know I rely on Chris to kind of help me if I'm not sure I get, the relationship between cards in a reading or the significance of the meaning in a reading. So for me, it's really important for people that want to embrace or come to tarot that they can find some accessibility, some way to grab onto it, some way to be able to use it. And I feel the same way about deck creation too. People creating their own decks, finding some learning process in this and discovery process. And because there's a certain joy about this whole thing in terms of coming upon tarot and finding and making it your own, doing what you will with it. And maybe I'm not expressing myself well tonight.
I guess here's my question, because if you're saying that, then it should go back, and Simon says, for me, it has to be the original, the symbology, the depiction of the archetypes. There was a familiarity there. He connected on a deeper level, and it never left him. And I'm assuming you're talking about the RWS, because I know about your love to the RWS, right? But if you're saying that it's about the archetypes and it's the symbology, again, right? The RWS was based on what? A lot of the art was based on the Solabusca. I mean, if we're going to go back to the original, we got to go back to the Visconti. God help us. I mean, what an ugly deck. So they're all built, right? They're all built on something. If it doesn't make sense, and this gets into a whole discussion I don't even want to enter into right now about being able to see yourself in the tarot, and then we get into whether it's the deck is whether it's inclusive, and these characters that were created and that were painted back in the early 1900s, is that fair to expect people in the 2020s that are of all different shapes, sizes, and colors and abilities to be able to relate to those archetypes, right? So you've got to think in those terms. So really, what, like Chris said, there's a system there. I agree. This is, if you just say it can be anything, any picture in the card, that's Oracle. But the system to me is you have this set of major cards, and it's the set. And whether it's a Marseille, whether it's a Thoth, God help us, whether it's RWS, right? Those are the same, basically the same, with the exception of a couple ordering scenarios, numbering scenarios of the majors. You have 4 suits, and they represent they're elemental. They have elemental representations, right? And then there's the numerological system that goes in there, and there's a whole debate and argument about with the Marseille about whether you use numerology or you don't. Blah blah blah. But my point is you've got the same basic structure, the same framework for all of these systems. So if you pick a historic deck that looks exactly like It was made back in the 17, 18, 1900th century, 20th century, early 20th century when it was made, or you pick one with monsters on it that are taking the place of all of the people, but they're doing the same actions. They're posed in the same way. They have similar scenery, the similar symbolism. Can a new person entering in still learn from that? I think yes. I think they can. I think it's all what appeals to you and where if you can read into the symbols.
I want to. Jilly says something here. We all have to find our own way on the tarot path. We all have to feel comfortable with the system, the art, the messages. And I think that's true. I guess what I'm saying is, how do you get there? You don't just like dive in. It's sort of like when someone teaches you to swim. And some people, they just throw them into the water. You're on your own. And other people go through a process to teach you how to swim. So I kind of think you need some kind of a basis for approaching the systems.
I think it's everybody's different. I mean, were you in our live, Nancy's live with me?
Yeah.
The other day? I mean, that's what we were talking about, right? Coming at it from two totally different directions, and the way we learned and the way we got to where we're at. And we each had to come at, we had to. I mean, I could not have come in it from the same direction that Nancy did, and Nancy couldn't have come in it from the same direction I did. It's all very individual in how you can learn. I don't think you could say if everybody on the planet follows X, Y, and Z, you're going to be the perfect tarot reader. It's just not going to work.
No. Okay, I guess I've beaten this dead horse long enough.
I'm beating it with you, Robin.
I was just trying to. Well, it's kind of a moot point in this group because everybody in the group are tarot readers and very familiar. I was just thinking, oh, if we had somebody new in there that wanted to find out about tarot, would they have gotten anything out of this discussion? And I'm not sure they would have, because it's sort of like, how does one indoctrinate, the wrong word. How does one introduce somebody new to the tarot? Or do you just like let them come find it and come to you? You know, I don't know.
I think the overriding point, and it's been demonstrated by everything that everyone said, is you do you, boo. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's different. Everyone's going to learn different. Do you know what I mean? We could all, and I don't propose that we do this, but we could all speak about, you know, our path, how exactly we've learned. You know, I started with this deck, you know, I learned, and I really felt as though I came into it when I started looking at it this way. We've probably, each and every one of us has probably got our own individual path, and that has been the right path for us. I don't think that there's any one answer. I think that's the point. Everyone is different, and everyone is going to have their own correct path, and it's really to a degree, it's for them to find it. But I think that we have managed to help. You know, if someone has stepped into this chat for the very first time, this is, you know, they've decided, right, I want to take up tarot. I think it goes back to what Mendy said at the very, very start when you asked the question, Robin, and it's what she said to her daughter. Like, there you go. There's a bunch of tarot decks. Go look at them, find one that resonates with you, and then come and see me. I think it's got to work like that, because if it doesn't resonate with you, you're going to get bored easily and going to fall off that train.
I see Red Bean B. She said, I think Robin is talking about learning the structure of the tarot. And then further down, she says that she's new to tarot. And so I'm a little bit curious if Red Bean B cares to offer anything in the notes about what approach she's taking, or how she found it, or how she's learning. I mean, you know, it's easy to go through everybody's stories about how they discovered it. Akali Sunflower Bee says she learned by intuition first. So, I mean, you know, everybody has a different approach. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling now. It's trying to find some sense out of all this. And I think a lot of times the tarot is about finding sense out of life, about finding sense out of these symbols and these images in this deck. And I just, the whole thing threw me back into it again when I had another look at this point with this new context about the little white book that comes with the standard issue RWS. Do we want to maybe do a couple of readings, take a couple of questions? I don't know if anybody in the chat has a question that they might like the three of us to read for, but just before we end, that might be a nice thing to do, and just maybe see how each of us approaches the cards. Anybody have people? Yeah. SNC, oh, hi, Neem. She said, every bit helps. The books, the buddy system, intuition, meditation, the deck. It's so many components for me. Bouncing ideas, Google, deep diving. Yeah, I agree.
Good night,
Simon. Have a good sleep.
And for you, Robin, I'm going to use my blushing spool. And because I don't want to shuffle my cartogram deck, because I'm going to do a video.
Mine's on the way. I ordered one that's on the way.
Mandy, look what I'm using.
You know what I told Justin? I told him this that
the Ugg boots.
Did he tell you that?
What?
I told Justin that the Light Seers deck.
I don't know how I heard that, but yeah,
I missed it again. What? Say it again, Mandy.
That the Light Seers was the Ugg boots of tarot decks.
Oh,
so basic. Well, I thought that.
I'm a basic bitch. What can I say?
I told until my 18-year-old daughter was not interested, and then I'm like, nah.
Well, far be it for me to make fun of anybody and their choices, but I'd say about 80% of the decks that all my friends in the community do walkthroughs on their channel, I just don't relate to, and I'm now at saturation point. I'm going to alienate both of you now.
Yeah, but Robin, you're a contrary guy, so I mean, really, what else can we expect?
I don't relate to the Light Seers or modern contemporary themed decks. At the same time, I'm at reaching my saturation point with the Marseille. So it might just be time for me to kind of back away a little bit and just embrace the handful that I do love and leave it at that.
Oh, Jilly, I would love to get together with you guys. You tell me when. And Neem's not that far either.
Do we have any questions, please? It doesn't seem like it. Maybe we've got no readings tonight. Maybe we should do a reading about the little white book.
Oh, B has a question.
I can't find it. Where is it?
She just says, I have a question, B.
Oh, okay.
Let us have it.
Bring it on, B. Jilly wants a general.
Okay. B wants to know, will her interview be successful?
Okay.
Are we all drawing? Is that how we're doing it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Who are we reading for first?
B.
B. You said, will her interview be successful? Is the question.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, let's do B first.
I've pulled some cards, so I'll just kick off.
Okay.
So I've pulled the magician. I've got three major cards. B. So without even looking at what cards I've got, three major arcana cards. So we're talking, big point in your life kind of thing. So that tells me that whatever happens next, whether it's success or failure or whatever, you're going to remember it. It's going to be like a kind of point in your life that you're going to look back on, and you're going to learn something basically. I've got the magician, I've got the emperor, and I've got temperance. So the magician for the situation, you're really in a kind of time where you're using your skill, you're using the skills that you've got. The magician, he's like the very first card, and he speaks of potential. So there is definitely potential for some new beginning, some new situation there to happen. But I always say when we talk about aces and we talk about the magician, that it's not guaranteed at that point. The ace isn't the entire suit, and the magician isn't the entire major arcana. You need to work at that. You need to kind of fulfill that potential to its best. Now, the advice that we've got, what we want to focus on is the emperor. It's this kind of keeping things in control. Look at the bigger picture. Look at what you're trying to achieve. Look at, like, kind of cast forward. What am I trying to achieve? And then think, right, okay, what steps do I need to put in place to really achieve that? So, let me see. Will my interview be successful? So the way you've phrased that, I'm guessing you've not had the interview yet, or have you had it? If you've not had it yet, what I want to be telling you is, whatever company it is or whatever it is that you're interviewing for, make sure you do your homework. Look up the company, okay? Know a couple of basic facts about the company. I would say that, taking tarot out of it. Make sure you have that knowledge behind you, and make sure you are that embodying that kind of emperor, that kind of knowledgeable. I don't want to say know it all. That's the wrong phrase. But just that very kind of kingly status, impressive. That's the emperor. He's got a strategy. He's holding a chess piece here, so he's got a game plan. He's got a strategy. So if it works for you, writing out plenty of lists or mind maps, but definitely know your facts. Have some. I mean, they always ask you, what skills can you bring? Have all that kind of mind mapped out or written out. Definitely kind of make sure you're prepared and stuff. Not yet. It's a health interview. So sorry, have I completely misinterpreted? Are we not talking about a job at all?
It's not a job interview.
So I'm maybe just being daft here, but what do we mean a health interview? Is that like I'm not really sure what I'm reading for now, and that's kind of thrown me a wee bit. Sorry. It's completely my ignorance. What I'll keep going anyway. Hopefully what I'm saying does kind of resonate at least a wee bit, even though I'm kind of coming at it from a different context. The last card that I've got, and that's usually the card that I look at with the outcome, it's temperance. So it's quite a cliffhanger. It's quite a teasing ending to the temperance card, because it's kind of like, the temperance does hang in the balance. Temperance is all about achieving that balance and equilibrium. It's not any more of one thing than what it is of the other. It does resonate, right? That's okay then. What I would say is it's not a negative card. Okay, temperance isn't, it's not screaming disaster at me. Okay, so the result of the interview, whatever it is, you're definitely going to be able to deal with it, because temperance, if there's any card in the tarot that can, take on anything, then that's got their shit dealt with, it's the temperance card. So I hesitate to say I can see some sort of positive outcome, or you'll be able to make some sort of positivity out of whatever happens. So yeah, sorry, that was a bit rambly, guys.
Robin, can I go, or you want
No,
to go?
you go. I'm struggling.
Okay. B, I'm not sure. These are the cards I pulled. I don't know if it's in the right direction or not. The first card I pulled was the Judgment card. The second card was the King of Wands, and the third card was the Knight of Pence. And I read it as I was thinking it was a job interview. So the way I read it is that You were going to be called up, that there was going to be some sort of announcement that was going to be transformative or changing, that you needed to sit with all of your, that you were going to be sitting with all of your power, that you were going to bring all of your fire. And in your interview, you needed to be prepared with holding your, I'm backwards, holding your staff with all of your fire and all of your resources in your hand so that you would be able to ride off with the money. That's how I read this as a job interview. If this is health, I think it still works, and that I think that I see you successfully leaving your interview with the pentacles in your hand. I hope that that makes sense. But I was reading it as a job interview.
What cards you got, Robin?
Well, I'm having trouble because I decided to use the Trick or Tarot deck, even though Halloween's over. And these cards are really hard to read. So I had to kind of translate in my head what they were in the RWS, because the images on the cards were like really confusing me. So I don't know if maybe I should show you the images to see what you think.
Today is El Dia de los Muertos, so you're still good for that kind of theme.
Oh wait, no, I can't. Let me get my other one because I can't see over the top of the card holder. Okay. So I have on the left, I've got the, oh, I don't know if this is coming out that way or not. On the left side, I've got the 4 of Pentacles, then the 6 of Pentacles, and the Ace of Cups. I don't know what to make of in these images, but when I translate it into RWS, the 4 of Pentacles says to me, withholding. The 6 of Pentacles is giving. And this card here, the Ace of Cups, is have something to do with feelings, or the beginnings of feelings. And the image in that one is kind of like angry and sort of treading water, half sinking. So I don't know what to make of that. Any thoughts on those guys?
Well, I don't see anything negative in those cards.
No.
I suppose some might read a 4 of Pentacles as being negative, but if we remember, this is a health interview, and Pentacles is the suit of health as well as kind of money and things. Stable health. If we just go purely from a numerological, God, one of these days I'm going to learn that word, numerological point of view. Stability in the area of health. So you're kind of sitting in a stable place. The 6, again, not a negative card. We're looking at harmony. We're looking at balancing out, and then the Ace of Cups, for me, it's it gives you this new connection to yourself. Now, maybe in this health interview, B is going to find something out that's maybe going to kind of give her perhaps a slightly different outlook, because we're going from this kind of very earthy pentacle to the watery kind of. It's the Ace of Cups, you said, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So more of a kind of about your feelings and your connections, to yourself, to your family, to whatever. But it turns from earth to water, is my point. So perhaps a slightly different outlook is the direction that it's going in, but I don't see anything negative in those cards.
No,
What
and
do you think, Mindy?
I see the 4 increasing to 6 as a positive. It's always good when numbers go up, as in there's going to be a when you're talking about health, it's going to be a maybe going in with certain expectations and coming out with higher expectations. And the Ace of Cups being just an overall sense of well-being, because cups is often, it's about feelings, but it's also about, it can also be about spirit and just about well-being. And ace is, while it is the lower end on the numbers, ace is also, it encompasses the entire suit. So I see that positively. 4 isn't always about withholding. 4 is about stability, and as Chris said, and the 4 of Pentacles often it can be about holding on to something too tight, but it can also be about just being a little reserved and being cautious.
Well,
And maybe it's having some caution as you enter in, but then feeling, walking out feeling good, which gives you a sense of well-being.
well, in the images here, we have this little guy going trick-or-treating. He's got all his pumpkins, his baskets full of candy. So that's the 4 of Pentacles. He's grabbed hold of like all the candy. He's trick-or-treating. Seems to be having a good time, but he's got it all. He's holding all the candy. Then we have in the 6th, we've got this woman going out with all these little kids to trick-or-treat, I guess. And it seems like she may even be like giving away treats to all these little kids. But it's this last one that gives me the most trouble, this ace, because he looks so mean. And he's kind of like, this pumpkin has been, jack-o'-lantern's been dumped in the water, and he's halfway floating. And he's got a witch on his head and a little cat. And in the background on the horizon, there's a moon that looks upset too. There's like some mysterious unknown aspect of this. There's some anger aspect of it. It's just bizarre to me for an Ace of Cups. I don't know. Maybe it's just this deck, or maybe I need more time to sit with it. I don't usually like to use decks that I'm less familiar with in these readings. I just thought I'd give it a try this time, but the ones, like I said, like the RWS that I'm more comfortable with because I've seen the images so many times, I have an easier time reading with usually.
Okay, so B says that thinks she can relate to all these readings. It's an interview for a health payment. Okay.
For what? Health what?
For health payment.
Oh.
So, okay. So,
well,
okay. Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense.
At the same time, just as I thought, well, maybe it would be easier for me if I did draw an RWS. I've got here the moon, the Page of Swords, and the 7 of Wands. So there's an element of kind of like battling or fighting a little bit, or taking control over a situation. Oh, boy, I can't do this backwards. Taking control over a situation. Oh, I got the wrong way around again. That's what I want to show. These two are both kind of fighting or getting ready for a fight and defending oneself over a fight is what I see here. The moon is a bit of a mystery, a sort of a like, it's not going to be resolved tonight, but I don't know. I'm not in tune tonight reading with these cards very well. Usually I read the moon as this kind of like balance between natural instincts or wild instincts and domestic, more ordered thinking. But I'm not sure how that applies in this case. Sorry, guys. I seem to be having trouble tonight.
You're okay.
No worries. So will we pull for Jelly?
Yeah,
sure.
See how we got on with that. So general reading for Jelly. So if it's okay with Jelly, I'll do my my usual general type reading, and I'll basically do a strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, and then I'll combine them and get an overriding message, Jelly. That generally tends to be how I would approach a general reading. Okay. Do you want to reinstate me and Mendy, Robin?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Does anyone else want to go first this time, or?
There you go. If you're ready. I'm still shuffling.
So, Jelly, your strengths, we'll get the Queen of Swords. So, a powerful, intelligent person who knows their own mind. She doesn't take shit from anyone. She really she needs those about her to really take responsibility for their own decisions, to look ahead and kind of try and think about the choices that they make. They need, for the Queen of Swords, people really need to kind of, they need to understand the cause and effect type relationship that their decisions are going to have, and she needs people to kind of take responsibility for their own shit, basically. And that's what you've got as a strength. Now, the Queen is a very kind of, she's a teacher, she nurtures, but it takes a really special kind of person to be able to nurture someone in a way that helps them deal with their shit. And I think we can all agree that Jilly is definitely, she's definitely someone who can help us all deal with our shit. She does our sit with me on Sundays. She is such a clever, intelligent, but positive and, character building person. She's such a nice person, Jilly. Anytime she sends me a message, I always finish up that message feeling good about myself. Someone who can do that at the same time as, being that I nearly threw you across the room there, Jilly, I got so excited, as well as being this Queen of Swords, is a very special lady indeed. Weaknesses, we've got the Six of Swords coming up. What that maybe says to me, Jilly, is that you're not always the best at putting yourself first. The Six of Swords comes up when you really need to kind of move yourself from a volatile situation or from perhaps a situation that might have conflict in it into a safe place. And maybe it's suggesting that you might sometimes not be thinking about yourself in that situation. So, whenever you're on an aeroplane, they always say, make sure you put your own mask on first before you put the person sitting next to you, before you help anyone else. You need to help yourself first before you're able to help someone else. So maybe that's something for you to think on, Jelly. Put yourself first for a change. Opportunities coming up, we've got the Nine of Swords. Okay, so obviously this is quite a high mental energy type card. By mental, I mean of the mind. I don't mean any other kind of meaning of that word. We quite often associate this with anxiety, stress, all of these kind of negative, negative situations that we associate with high mental energy, but it can also be a positive situation. It can also be, using that to get stuff done that you need to get done. If you really need to be in that kind of high intellectual mind space to be able to get something done that you need to do, you've got that opportunity there. So with the opportunity to be in that high intellectual mind space, there's also the danger of falling into perhaps the more, what's maybe the more shadow aspects of this card, which is, your high anxiety, stress situations. So Mendy's holding up.
Sorry, Max asked what I was drinking, so I thought instead of
Oh,
interrupting you, I would
see,
just hold it up.
I thought maybe that was one of those drinks that helps you deal with, they kind of advertise, if you drink this, you won't be stressed and all that kind of thing. I thought that was maybe
No,
what you were.
Sorry, I was trying to
No, you're okay.
not
I was just
interrupt
curious.
you and just hold my drink up. Sorry, I ruined your whole flow. Go ahead.
No, you didn't at all. So that was the Nine of Swords, and then as I say, I like to kind of put them together. So the queens for me are 13, the 6, so 13 plus 6 is 19, plus the 9 from the Nine of Swords would be what, 28. So, and then we need to add them together to get the 10. The 2 and the 8 give you 10, and then you can reduce the 10 further to get the one. So we're talking about Wheel of Fortune type energy, where we're kind of perhaps in a transitional period. We're in a period where things are changing, which I suppose would kind of match up with this kind of idea. But we're also looking at the magician. We're looking at, again, new potential kind of coming out. So a period of change. So I think what we want to focus on is this. We want to focus on making sure that you're in the best place for you and not necessarily kind of thinking about everyone else before you, Jilly. There's your general reason from what. That's me.
Okay, you want me to go, Robin?
Yeah.
Okay, Jilly. So the first card I pulled was High Priestess. The second card was the Knight of Pentacles, and the third card was the Six of Pentacles. And from this, I'm getting that you are in a place of you're in a place of study and worship, which we all know that you always are. It doesn't surprise me that this comes up for you with me, because I get a lot of High Priestess energy from you. But that's where a lot of your focus is right now. But something's going on with you that I think has to do with the physical. And I don't know if it's money or it's health, but something's going on with you that's pulling away from you. And I don't know if it's a loss of something, but it's riding away from you. And it's going to be okay. That it's the six of Pentacles is whatever is being taken away here by this knight is going to be okay, because it's, there's the balance, and the sixes are always balanced, and they're always, I love the sixes because they're just the perfect number. And you're so giving, and you always have more to give. So while you're in this realm of your spiritual, study and your spiritualness, and all of the mystery that's entailing, you need to be aware of what's going on here, even if you're just, be cognizant of whatever it is that's going on. It's going to be fine. It's all going, you're going to have enough to give, but you want to be aware of what's being taken, is what I'm getting from this. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense to you, if that in any way resonates with what's going on.
We'll probably get some feedback in a
Yeah.
few seconds. I think there's usually a bit of a lag period, isn't there? What have you got, Robin?
All right. I've gone back to comfort zone, but even these are giving me trouble. And I always view the center card as the person in the center of their situation. So if this is Jilly, this is a lovely card. It's the World card. She's dancing naked out into the world. It's just really a wonderful, loving card, I think. Embracing life and dancing out into the world. On either side, though, on the left of that card, we've got the Five of Swords. This is somebody holding two swords holding three swords, and two swords have been discarded. Usually that means to me difficulty in interactions with others. I don't know what the situation is here, whether it's Jilly having trouble with other people or other people having trouble with Jilly. I don't know. But there seems to be some feeling of other people not paying attention or walking away from a situation. Somebody's walking away from a situation, avoiding some kind of altercation, or they've abandoned the interaction between them. I don't know. Then the opposite side, we have Judgment, which is sort of the opposite, between people kind of avoiding acknowledging each other to looking up, and there's this sort of communication between the people below and the person above. So if Jilly's in this situation, I don't know if she's sending information down to others or she's on the receiving end getting information from others, or perhaps this is her higher self and herself and her higher self exchanging or taking in information. I don't know. I'm having such struggle tonight, folks. I think part of it is my own distraction because this is the night before something really ghastly. And I was hoping that tonight would be a diversion from all the politics. But I think it's still kind of like pushing in on me as I'm doing this. So I'm not
It could
really.
also be the pants, Robin. You might need to take your pants off.
Take my pants off.
Robin, I think everything you said there was that kind of made sense to me.
Yeah,
It's
that did make
interesting
sense.
because in the middle, you said you view the middle card as representing the questioner, and that's the world, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, on one hand, you've got judgment, which is what happens, but it's the step before the world. So
No,
judgment,
after.
no, I mean in the fool's journey.
Oh,
So in the fool's journey, judgment is where you basically you face everything that's happened in your past. You finally, you deal with everything. You look at everything, with an objective eye, and the stuff that needs to be dealt with, you deal with it. You basically kind of do everything that you need to do to be able to move on into that world stage. So Jilly's obviously done that. She's done the judgment shit. She's dealt with everything that needs to be dealt with, and she's now in this world phase where she's, represented by the person who's completely fulfilled. And at the other side of that, you've got people who are maybe feeling a bit defeated. So I see an interesting story there. I've maybe not been able to put it into words very well, but it's just quite interesting how Jilly's dealt with the judgment and she's now the world, but you've got some other people who are perhaps in that more Five of Swords type kind of headspace. Do you know what I mean?
I'm finding comfort in the world card, but the other two cards are distressing me, and I don't know why.
Well, you can also look at it mirroring. So, like you said, I mean, you actually said it already that you had the Five of Swords, right? It was the Five of Swords mirrored with the Judgment card.
Yeah.
So, if you look at that kind of like, an old style, almost cardmatic Norman way, where they're mirroring one another, and was the Five of Swords came before the world, and the Judgment came after the world.
Yes.
So Jilly is caught in the middle of some sort of disturbance or disagreement, but in the future, up ahead, she's in that middle space where something's happened, where there's been some sort of fallout, and there's injury, and then up ahead, there's a coming together and a listening. Like you said, there's eye contact, there's making a connection, and there's communication. Whereas she's just caught in that middle space, kind of floating in that ether, in that time period before she reaches the space.
What does that she say? I get them, Robin, and it's okay. It's part of the Rev thing. What's that? What Rev thing? What am I missing there?
Is Rev not her title as a Buddhist priest, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Oh. Let's wait to see how high you were going to go there, Robin.
Good night, Dave.
All right, guys. Maybe we should pull a single closing card. I'm wiped out, and I don't know what's going on with me. I'm feeling jittery and stressed, and I shouldn't be, and I don't know why. So I think we'll finish off the night. I want to thank you both for coming in, and maybe we can find a nice closing card to find some comfort in.
I might actually pull a playing card if you guys don't have any big objections to that.
I love playing cards. Oh, I had another fun deck right here. Darn it.
Oops. Fire away, Mandy, if you want.
Man.
Oh, okay. I thought we were all pulling together. I got the chariot. Moving forward.
What?
I got the chariot. We're moving forward.
Okay.
Queen of Spades. So the Queen of Air.
See,
Kelly.
I messed up again. I thought I pulled one card and 3 of them popped out. So I don't know what that means. I got the Emperor, the 6 of Cups with the little kids, and the 7 of Cups with all the choices. So I don't know what to make of that. But the Emperor was on top, so maybe that's the one. I don't know. It's just, maybe I just need to sit back and review things. Look over my land and consider things.
They're all the Emperor, the Queen of Spades, and the Chariot. They're all very kind of authoritative type characters, aren't they? There's no one who's namby-pamby and just like hopping through life. Everyone's very kind of decisive and very kind of set in their roles, and they know what they need to do, and they're doing it. Maybe that's the message for the week.
Yeah, I think
Just be
so.
decisive, go about it. Get on that chariot and drive it forward, type thing.
I like it.
Okay. Thank you,
I like it.
guys.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin.
Yeah, Mandy, thanks for coming in and sharing your thing. We'll look forward to a full walkthrough, and I'm looking forward to Chris's birthday unveiling on Thursday.
Thank you.
His prizes, surprises, presents, whatever. And thank everybody in the chat room for coming by and being supportive always, as usual. And wish me a little luck that I worked this out and I'm better next time we're all together. And so thanks, guys. Good night.
See you later, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.